everyone, it's Chris with Expat Theory. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. I appreciate you being here. Figured today I wanted to do a little video kind of sparked by the channel Geo in the Philippines. I don't know if all of you really know that I watch a lot of different expats from different countries, and a lot of them from the Philippines, because that's where I kind of started this whole plan. Was thinking I was going to retire to the Philippines, so a lot of the channels that I started watching are from the Philippines. Geo, Filipina P, Habitual Nomad, Amazing Philippines, just a whole bunch. And I was kind of watching one of the things that one of the videos that Geo did, and it brought to mind one of the things that most people fail at, and I am 100% guilty. I don't think people truly understand or make a budget to know what their cost of living is. A lot of the times, here and abroad, people are so used to living paycheck to paycheck and living right at the top of their means. And it's basically the first step to catastrophe. When you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're not able to budget yourself any kind of breathing room with your money, everything you get comes in and goes right back out towards bills. You're living bigger than your budget. Someone who's living within their means, without living it right at the top, they're kind of living it, I would recommend probably 75% of whatever income you have coming in, that be your budget for living, and the other 25% be savings, investing, squirreling away an emergency fund. And we're not doing that. We're not doing that here in America. And when we retire and go overseas, we don't do that either. And that could be a real problem for the expat. That could lead to some serious issues. You find yourself in a foreign country somewhere, your nest egg, whatever it is that you did, or you may not even have one, but if you did have one, you get sick, go to the hospital, whatever, you have an accident, or something comes up where your nest egg gets wiped out and you're living at the top of your budget, you're in trouble. And frequently that ends up meaning you have to come back to the States, or even worse, you find yourself financially wiped out and destitute in a foreign country with no way to get home. That is not a healthy scenario by any means. Sorry, it's starting to rain. It's a rainy day. I'm up here on the New Jersey Turnpike in one of the service plazas. I picked up a load in Georgia, and I'm taking it up to Massachusetts. So, having to reset all my clocks and take my time off at a service plaza off the New Jersey Turnpike. So, that's something that I think that needs to be brought out and mentioned and talked about. You really need to adjust the way you're living to your income as much as possible. And I know the way that inflation is right now, the way the cost of living is right now, sometimes you can't really adjust your cost of living downward enough to match the lifestyle you want to live and where you want to live, near your job and so forth. When that happens, you have to make tough decisions. You either have to make the decision that you're in the wrong area. Maybe you need to be in a different area doing a different job, someplace that's you can offset your cost of living a little bit. Or you may end up having to come up with like a side hustle, something that makes you extra money so that you have that above and beyond what you're putting out every month. Because that seems to be one of the number one reasons of people being in massive amounts of debt here in the US, and they start using credit cards to cover their debts, and then they can't clear them up, and that ends up in wiping you out financially. And it's living paycheck to paycheck. Something bad happens, and all your monthly money had to go to pay for whatever incident or emergency that you had, and now you're behind on your bills. And trying to catch up is almost impossible when you're living right at the top of your income level. You have no savings, no emergency net, nothing, no safety net. One of the things I strongly recommend is having at least 3 months of bills stored away in a savings account. Might be able to get away with 2, but I would suggest 3. That way, if you run into a situation where you get laid off or you end up having to be on long-term out of work, no paychecks coming in, you've got enough money to pay the bills for at least 3 months. It gives you breathing room to make changes and figure out what you're going to do, and or get back on your feet. And without it, you're very vulnerable. You're vulnerable to finding yourself into a very bad financial situation. Well, that same thing goes for being overseas and being abroad and living in a foreign country. You need to have a safety net. You need to have cash set back just in case something happens and you end up, say something silly happens, you end up in a automobile accident. Well, hospitals overseas, most of them are not going to be on your American insurance plans. So having insurance over there is another thing I recommend. There's a number of providers, so you can put yourself in a plan and pay monthly for it and have some sort of insurance. But even then, they are not like here in the U.S. You go to the hospital, they expect to be paid immediately. They're not going to bill you later. No, that's not how it works. You need to have money right now to pay for your medical care. The only way you can do that is have cash. So you need to have that safety net. And if you had like an automobile accident and you accrue, $5,000, $7,000 worth of hospital bills, you've got to have that money now to pay for your bills before you get out of the hospital. So you can't rely on just having your monthly income coming in. You've got to have cash set back and set aside for an emergency. Same thing here, I would recommend over there, I would recommend at least having probably 35,000 just in case, because you never know what's going to happen. You might be in the hospital for an extended period of time. You may have to have a lot of work done. You may have to pay for all that and then turn around and decide you want to come back to the States. So you got to have enough money to pay your way out of there to come back to the U.S. and establish yourself here, reestablish yourself here back home. That takes an awful lot of money. So I personally wouldn't recommend anything less than $35,000 in cash set back. I've never been an expat per se. I was overseas in the military, so Different scenario. Uncle Sam took care of everything for me. But going overseas, I'm already prepping and planning to have cash funding set aside, and I'm building a good retirement paycheck. My Social Security plus what I'm building in my portfolio. And then when you get overseas and you do want to retire and all that, don't do like we do here. Don't live right at the top of your budget. If you've got $2,500 coming in, you want to be living on about $2,000. You need to have that other 500 just in case. Not only just in case, it's also to give yourself plenty of breathing room that, if you want to do something different one month, you got some extra money. If you want to save up that money every month, you can take a big trip, and go do something really cool without affecting your monthly budget and your bills. So, if I were to say save $500 a month in 3 months, 90 days, I got $1,500. That'll pay for a nice trip. I can go somewhere and do something really cool and then come back to wherever I'm living and not have affected my monthly bills. But if you're living at $2,500 a month and that's what you've got coming in, you can't really do anything. You can't really enjoy much. You can't go out and, you can't do anything extra. You're just barely getting by. And that's not what you want to do, especially in retirement. We do that enough here in the States as it is every single day. We're right at the top. We're just getting by. We're, barely eking it out. One major catastrophe happens in our life and we're screwed. We don't have the funds to cover it, and we end up going in debt. You don't want to live your retirement life like that. So wherever it is, it doesn't have to be the Philippines. It could be Thailand. It could be Cambodia, Vietnam. It could be South America. Wherever you are thinking of retiring, if you're planning on being an expat, keep this in mind. You need to be living on less than what you're bringing in. Not right up the top saying, oh, well, I watched all these videos and they say I can live on $2,000 a month and I'm going to have $2,100 a month coming in. You can't afford it. Change your location or, manipulate the situation. You're not going to be in that heart of that city that you were talking about and thinking about. It's going to cost you $2,000 and your income's $2,100. That's not safe. Pick the outskirts, get you a cheaper place to live. You can still travel into the city you're thinking about, and do it cheaply, but you'll be living on about $1,500 a month instead of the $2,000. Now you're safe. So keep this in mind on your plans and on your, on the way you're thinking about how you're going to retire. And if you're here in the States and you're eking it out, you probably need to do some changes. You need to cut back. You need to realize you can't have the nicest car and the newest best phone and all the bells and whistles of everything in everyday life if you're living right at the top of your means. You're setting yourself up for failure. You need to adjust things down. And if you don't want to adjust things down, then you're going to have to hustle. You're going to need to change jobs, make more income, do side hustles, whatever it needs to be to raise that income above and beyond what it is you're spending on monthly bills. And I personally know from personal experience, I never really budgeted well. I knew what my bills were, and I would sit down and write them down, and I would still miss things. You gotta literally go through every little thing that costs you money, and You just have to keep. I would even recommend maybe keeping receipts on everything that you spend for a month or two or three to get an average and to see what it is you're actually spending. Keep track of all your spending. Every time you go out to that fast food drive-through, every time you go get that Starbucks, $7 coffees, whatever, write it down. And then you'll have an idea of exactly what you're spending every month. And that'll give you a much clearer picture of what you need to survive. And then you need to add at least 25%. And that's what you need to have as an income. You need to be at least 25% over what you're spending. And make life adjustments accordingly, I think we're a little spoiled here. A lot spoiled here. I think a lot of people just don't realize how much it really costs every month to live. They don't have a good handle on everything they spend and where they spend their money. And I think that really affects us. And then when we retire, we go overseas, we take these same... sorry about that. This is my tablet connected to my truck. We take these same bad habits with us overseas in retirement. And until you're over there and you're living over there and you're really racking up the bills and paying the bills and figuring out exactly how much you're spending to live there, you're not going to know 100% what your actual monthly budget is, how much you're actually putting out. And you may have to make some adjustments. You may have to change the location. You may have to get a lesser apartment or, domicile, whatever it is, wherever you're wanting to stay. You may have to move out from the heart of the city, where things are a little less expensive. Might cost you a little more in transportation, but what you're offsetting in rent will cover that. You have to think about how you're eating. And when you're wanting to live an American lifestyle in a foreign country, it can get pretty expensive because everything you're doing at that point is basically an import. If you want that American food, you're going to pay a higher price for it. You want the local food, you're going to get it cheaper. So if you want to live like an American in a foreign country, it's going to cost you more than if you were to live like a local. These are some of the trade-offs you're going to have to make to ensure that you're living within your means and giving yourself plenty of financial breathing room. So anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, and that's something I wanted people, who are watching these videos and watching these channels, want you guys to think about that stuff. Don't set yourself up for failure. Don't set yourself up to have a catastrophe if something bad happens to you. Don't go overseas without having a good chunk of safety net money and live below what you have coming in by a fairly good amount, so that way you've always got a little extra. Don't don't put the knife right to the edge of your throat by living on the edge, spending out everything that you have. That's no way to live. It's stressful. It's no fun, and it ruins the location wherever you are. You'll get miserable because you feel like you're living right on the edge, and you're not happy and all this because it's tension, it's stress, it's anxiety. It's not worth it, and it will affect the way you live and your opinion about how you're living and the way you feel every day. You won't have that comfortable feeling knowing that you're safe. If something were to happen, you're okay, and you're going to be able to take care of it. And it could truly affect the way you live in your retirement drastically. And even here today, in our lives that we live right now, it really does make a huge difference. My life has changed now that I'm able to put back safety net money, have savings, and pay all my bills. I'm living beneath my means, and it takes a lot of stress off. I'm not worried about paying my bills every month. I know I've got enough money to take care of that and extra. It really changes your whole outlook on life. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up there. I don't want to talk in circles, but I do think this is an important topic that I don't know that everybody really hears or thinks about. And unless you're watching some of these guys in their videos that are over there, then you might hear it, but you really need to take it serious, and you really need to sit down and do the math, do the hard crunching of numbers to figure out where it is you're going to end up and what you're going to have and what you can actually afford. All right, guys, that's going to be the video for today. I hope you guys have a good one. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you know anybody who might be interested in this kind of content, share it to them. And as always, I appreciate you being here. See you in the next video.